My grandfather grew up along the banks of the Little Colorado River in the village of Greer, Arizona. Now, along the banks of the Little Colorado River grow a certain type of willow. And my grandpa used these willows to make whistles, and he taught all of his grandkids how to make them. My grandfather had a small pocket knife that he carried with him wherever he went. I never saw him without his pocket knife. It was maybe a 3-inch blade, and he used it for just about anything. He'd use it to cut apples. He'd also use it to clean fish. It was just his tool that he always had with him, and I always knew that he had it. And that taught me to be prepared. Hey, Grandpa Wiltbank, Papa Wiltbank taught us how to make these. We made them all the time when we were up here. First you have to get a willow. And you want a nice limber one that the skin is going to come off of. The skin will pull away. So once you've got your willow, you have to cut a nice place for your mouth to go onto. Let's see this knot here. I don't like that knot, so I'm going to go this way with it so that I don't have that knot in my way. It's important to keep the wood and especially the bark moist while you're making the whistle, and then later. If you let it dry out, the bark won't fit back onto the wood very well, or the bark will start to crack. So it's important to keep it moist. My grandpa, as he was making them, he'd always either stick them back in the river, because we'd be carving them along the banks or sitting on the bridge, or he'd put the whole thing in his mouth and suck on it while he was carving it to keep it moist. I remember one year, Papa Wiltbank set up a tent at Greer Days, and he made like 100 of these for all the kids at the parade. Made them.
Was he able to make them real fast?
Well, he could make them faster than I could. I think Uncle Jerry helped him too. Uncle Jerry's his brother.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Then you want to cut it straight across. We want to decide how long we want it to be. So I think I'm going to cut it here where this knot is, just before this knot.
Just make a little short one.
And you just score the skin. So that it's separated nicely.
It's getting juicy in there.
That's great. We like it juicy.
I like it. I like it juicy.
Now is the banging part. And the banging is to loosen up the skin. This is kind of a light pocket knife. So after you've banged it a lot, the skin gets loose from the wood, and then you grab the part that you've banged on and you twist it off like that. No, don't break it. If you break the skin, then it won't work. The skin is the most important part. And so now we have the inside and a nice sleeve for it. You can see we did get a little bit of a crack there.
Oh, a tiny one.
But that's okay on that side. You just don't want the cracks to be where you are going to make your hole. Okay, so then you put the skin back on, and now you decide how far back you want to go on here. And normally you want to go back somewhere around where the
Bottom of the slant is.
Slant part is. So somewhere back here, and you want it to be on the part where you're going to have the whistle. So you cut straight down. So that's the straight part, and then you cut a groove back this way. The bigger the hole, the deeper the sound you're going to get. You don't want to have too big of a hole, or you won't be able to get
A good sound, a loud sound.
Yeah. You have to blow really hard.
He's doing good. I haven't read any.
So now we have a nice little whistle hole. Then we pull the skin off, and that becomes our guide. So now we just got to make the hole deeper. Keep this part towards the front straight, and you keep cutting a little groove into it. I like to cut straight down and then
He got
cut into it.
his transfer.
Gotta be careful you don't cut too hard, because if you cut this part off, then you've broken your whistle. So the size of the hole matter, and then how deep and how long you make this groove that we're making here.
October. Before I graduate.
And the bigger that part is, the deeper the sound too.
Yeah.
Gonna go.
So I like to go to about the middle of the wood, and you can tell when you get to the middle when you get the core, and you see the brown core in there.
Yep.
So that's the middle of the wood, and you can see that here in the middle of the... Okay, and now we just got to choose how deep we want to make it back. Have a nice whistle shape here, slanted on this side, nice deep groove, and straight on that side. Let's make sure that our skin still looks good on there.
Makes it go crazy.
It's getting a little tight. That means we want to
Yeah, they have
wet it, make it wet. When they dry out, they stop working, and also the skin is more likely to crack. Okay, so we're still good there. We have one last thing to do, and that's cut the hole that we blow into. You want to make it straight with your groove here. So I'm just going to cut a small
everybody thinks my dad makes the best.
hole.
'Cause it has simple things.
My grandpa would always lick them.
Yeah.
Yuck!
What?
Okay, you see?
They
Nice.
missed it!
Small hole there to blow in, and then we've got our groove that lines up straight with where we cut in, and there's your whistle. And if you want to get fancy and turn it into a recorder, then you put other small holes in that you cover to get different sounds. Then you just choose to cut it off. You cut off after where you've put the skin back on. Cut it off and then give it to a kid. I love my grandfather, and I'm grateful to have this small piece of his heritage that he passed on to me and that I can pass on to my own kids. It's something that helps me to remember him and remember the times that I spent with him.